Hello there. Good evening. Good Sunday evening to you all. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt. As you can see, I'm joined by my right hand man, my bearded brother. It is Paddy Boy, because Paddy, it is a beautiful Sunday, and it's been a while since you've got a prediction right. We are 4-0s, and it's been probably a long time since we've actually watched a game, and it has looked like Celtic were going to score more than one goal, and they were going to win a game comfortably. Of course, a Glasgow derby of sorts. Partick Thistle, Firhill for thrills. There was a lot to talk about. There was a lot going on and off the pitch. Of course, we'll cover that. But ultimately, 4-0, safe passage, clean sheet, and through to another Glasgow derby. A big Glasgow derby against Rangers in the semi-final, which is probably going to be in the 2nd of November, because, as you know, they like to knock it back Sunday telly and all that kind of stuff. You happy with that, Paddy Boy?
Yeah, listen, as soon as the draw was getting made, you'd rather get them early than get them in the final and have a wee potential upset because everybody's up for a final. But I'm quite happy with today's performance, although the opposition wasn't of a very high standard. I still thought that they caused us a little bit of problems. Tony Watt, a couple of years ago, would maybe have done a bit of damage. He's obviously lost a wee bit of sharpness, but listen, they done a fair wee bit at the start of that game, and I thought as soon as Celtic scored, I thought that was it. It was just a matter of going through the gears and stuff, and there was a lot of good link-up play. There was a lot of quick passing and stuff, so yeah, good to see, good result. And
absolutely. You'll take that all day. I mean, listen, we'll talk about it. I don't think it was exactly amazing. I wasn't bowled away. There was still room for improvement. But hey, 4-0, you can't ask for fairer than that. Away, we'll talk about the opposition. We'll talk about, I don't take it as a buying an excuse or anything, but we'll talk about some of the dark arts that maybe they tried to go in with their extra long grass, their extra watered grass and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the result's all that matters, and there's definitely a lot of positives that have come out of it. Still some room for improvement, but nothing as perfect. And, you know, second game back and all, I can say, well, third game back, that's pretty good. Let's have a wee bit more of that. So before we do that, as always, just welcome back to the channel. Just want to once again thank everybody. We're close to 2,500 subscribers. The numbers have really jumped up recently, and we really appreciate that. So if you are a continued subscriber, thank you very much. If you are in the members section, we donation $1.99 a month. As I say, it just puts everything together, the overheads, the platform, the equipment, all that kind of stuff. We thank you very much. And if you're new, hit the subscribe, because it costs you nothing. All our content is 100% free, and it will remain that way for the foreseeable future, unless something drastic changes, but we have no intentions of making you pay for anything on this channel. Get us elsewhere, exit CWPod 1888, Paddy's infamous TikTok, Spotify, Blue Sky, you know all by now. But Paddy, let's get down to business. As I said, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things in terms of off the field, of course. There's a lot of positives and maybe one or two wee sort of niggles on the pitch. But let's jump straight into the action. You and I sat the other day and we spoke about how we thought this one was going to pan out. You were fairly positive, and as I said, I think you actually went more than your 4-0. You were forced into that, but I had turned around and says that for me, anything less than 4 I would call me very picky. I would have said it was unacceptable. We should have been at least taking 4 off it today, and that's what we got. I thought the game started off a wee bit sticky. It was a wee bit frantic. It looked a bit sort of like battle of the wills at points, but we soon get into our stride. We get 2 goals, and then we never really look back for there. I want to jump off, Paddy, just bringing up this lineup as it came out, because we had a wee bit of a discussion around it. I think, firstly, it's good to see Sensational. It's clearly that he is going to be the cup goalkeeper, and certainly looking towards the game against Rangers, he has to play. I wouldn't want to see anything change from that. I'd give the guy a chance, make him the cup goalkeeper. There was a few things there, Paddy, when I saw this lineup that I just sort of took a wee step back and went, okay, that's strange. The big one for me was the midfield 3 being retained. McGregor, Hatate, Negrin, who I don't feel I'm being picky when I say it. I just don't think they've really been up to scratch in the past few outings together. They've looked quite laboured, they've looked quite slow, and I thought this was a great opportunity to give a wee bit of time to some of those guys on the bench, McCowan, Bernardo, Engels. Of course, they then feature later on in the game, but I thought, they should be starting there. Of course, Yang coming in from the start, that really took me back as well. Of course, we'll talk about him. But again, I thought brilliant opportunity for Balikwisha. He's had 2 outings. He's not looked fantastic. Here's a great opportunity against a lower level opposition on a grass pitch. Give him a run out. But no, it was Yang. So did you share any of those kind of original sort of, like, that's a bit of a head scratcher?
Aye, listen, you're spot on. We did say about Sensational, and I think it's great to see Rio Mari get a start. Defensive wise, I don't think you had many queries in there with the defence. I thought that's kind of roughly what we expected it to be. Like you say, Steve, with the midfield, we discussed that in quite a bit of depth, saying that McCowan, Bernardo, Engels, this was tailor-made for them to try and bolster a place in the squad, try and do a wee bit extra, because the midfield is a place that we have been lacking. It's normally our best part of our team, basically. It's the kind of strongest part, and when you look at it, McGregor's been off the boil for a good 4 or 5 months now. Hatate, the same. Nigren, yeah, you can say he got 2 assists today, but still, performance-wise, I still think there could have been more. So for me, there should have been a bit of change in there. There should have been some of the people for the bench getting a start in there. Up front, nice to see Hianacho getting a start. Expected them to maybe get one or two, but it wasn't to be. The Yang gang back together, I don't know where that's kind of came from. I thought that was all kind of dead and buried, but listen, he's still here. He's still coming up with it. I don't think he done much other than his goal, but yeah, it's nice to see him back.
No, let's just jump straight in, as we always do, rather than chop him through the action. We'll mentioned it, but I really want to sort of talk about, excuse me, the performances. Still kind of a wee bit at the tail end. Am I feeling poorly? But so do bear with me. I'll mute myself as much as I can so I'm not coughing away. But yeah, jump into some of the performances. I thought that, as I said, when the game started off, I looked at it and it looked a bit scrappy. There was loose passes. It was a wee bit frantic in the pace. Teams I didn't think were settling. And of course, we then scored relatively early on, so it kind of settles the nerves a wee bit. But looking at it, I did think that, the big one for me was the midfield. I really, really thought that we were going to get some level of change in there. I'm going to cut through it and you jump straight into Nigren. And I think that he puts in 2 assists, and on paper that's really good, but I was expecting a lot more out of him. Feel free to talk, Paddy.
Sorry, yeah. With Benjamin Nigren, you expect a bit more of a performance from him. He's one of the players that he's come in. He's full of promise. He's got the ability. He's got a decent delivery. You seen it first off with a Yang assist there. He's put the ball right across, and Yang's kind of headed it. Originally, I thought he'd headed it wide. I thought he'd headed it off the side of the post, but it's the defender's head that it comes off and goes into the back of the net. Didn't seem too much of a celebration, which I found quite surprising. I don't know whether that was a wee jibe, like, yeah, I was away, I was done. Do you know what I mean? Whether there's a wee bit of badness in there, but listen, we'll wait and see. I don't know. He got the goal, and like you say, Steve, will put us ahead at that time. And for there on, I think it was just a matter of how many. I don't think we were under much pressure at that point.
No, I think, as I say, that it's quite an early goal in the context of the game.
Yeah.
I just felt it was a bit scrambling around at first. And I thought that Thistle they looked quite physical, they looked quite up for it. Mm-hmm. I was quite surprised at times throughout the course of the game how much they were able to actually get in behind and cause some of our defence a wee bit of problems. Notably sort of Carter Vickers, who I thought had a right ropey game, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
In terms of the goal coming, it's a good header, and I do you know, it's funny because I didn't even think, I was kind of like, is that a goal? It comes in, it's a good, Nigren hangs it up well. He really pins it up at the back post. It's a great ball in fairness to him. Because I thought up until that point, he wasn't really influencing the game from getting his foot in the ball sort of perspective. McGregor again, I'm going to keep coming back to the middle three. And so I think that Nigren, in the grand scale of this game, you look at it and you see 2 assists and you say, oh, he must have had a great game. I thought that he had good deliveries into the box. And yeah, do you know what? See, at the end of the day, I would rather have him influence the game by setting up something. But you just expect a wee bit more from him, is all I'm saying. And I think that the early stages that we saw through that pre-season, and then at first I thought, this guy's going to be someone who is going to drive our midfield every single game. Hangs the ball up really, really well. It's a good ball. Yang attacks it and it goes in. I think it hits off the boy on the line. And as she says, there's no celebration. It's quite muted. Don't really know what what that was all about. But certainly, take it, and it's a good it's a good header from him. He, attacks it quite well. In terms of even Yang, I think that's really. We were talking about it in our chat. You thought I was being a bit harsh. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to see Yang. I'm fed up with him, right? I know that's an instant negative. So batter me in the comments. I really don't care. I'm beyond this part of trying to. There's a player in there, and well done. He scored the goal. I thought it was absolutely garbage other than scoring the goal.
Yeah, well, as soon as you put it in the chat, Steve, I was on it straight away. I bet you a tenner he'll score a goal. I bet you this, bet you that. He's one of the players that he's going to get in about it. He's going to be there. I think there is a player there. He was linked to a move away and things like that, and obviously we had to pull him back because we were really short on wingers and still are. But I don't think he should be a starter for Celtic. I don't think he's of that quality. James Kennedy saying Yang wants away. He was away, mate. He was gone. He was signed. He was getting his fucking photos took with the kit on and get told to get back up the road. So obviously there's going to be a bit of, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for there, but there's a bit of shiteness in there, we'll call it. He's wanting away. And his head is somewhere else. But listen, he's come in. He scored the opening goal. He's got us in that position. And then, like you say, it was a kind of quick double essentially. Second goal coming in, Steve, from a corner, from a set piece. Everybody hang this in the Louvre. This is something that doesn't happen a lot. Again, great ball with Benji Negrin and. Liam Scales, I've said it on here so many times, Liam Scales and Big Dane Murray are the only two people defensively wise who I feel will attack the ball in the opposition's box. You look at the height of Carter Vickers, the build of Carter Vickers, he should be bullying the opposition defenders in there, but he doesn't. And Big Scalesy always pops up with a wee cheeky goal every now and then. That was good to see.
Yeah. No, definitely. Listen, I do apologise. I keep coming out, Paddy. You're going to have to be carrying this today.
That's fine,
you have
mate.
no idea how I am really struggling here. But yeah, I mean, the goal for Scales, as you see, is again an eagerness. It comes to a corner of sorts. It's a short corner. It's a great ball in. And I actually think if I'm being hypercritical of the goalkeeper, not that I care, probably should do better. Because Scales is coming away for the goals. It's such an acute angle. It's a backward header. I think the goalkeeper actually, for lack of a better term, shits his pants. He doesn't want to fly into that post, but he goes in. And at that point, I think that really Thistle are out the game. I think that there have been moments where they scare us, and maybe a goal sort of changes that for them. But as soon as the second goal hits the back of the net, it's over for Thistle because, as I said, they try early on to press us. They're trying to sort of put us under pressure, get those loose balls that were happening. Thought the possession in the midfield was a wee bit scrappy in the opening sort of 15 minutes. And that's, as I said, sitting there with my sort of cynical head on. I'm going, right, here we go. It's going to be one of those games again where the midfield are going to get sort of strangely overran and it's going to be a toss of a coin situation. But no, it's a really good header for Scales. It's a good ball in, again, for Negrin to pinpoint him out. And it's absolutely the best way to start off. And I think, to be honest with you, people might disagree. I think we find ourselves 2 goals up in quick succession. And probably on the opening 15 minutes, I wouldn't have thought they would have been 2-0 up that early on.
No, it kind of looked that way. Obviously, like I say, Tony Watt seemed to cause Carter Vickers a wee bit of trouble, getting in behind every now and again. And I thought Carter Vickers didn't really cover himself in glory. I don't know what your thoughts are in the chat, but for me, like Callum McGregor and Carter Vickers, they were struggling. They really, really struggled today. Plunge say great to see KT get 90 minutes, mate. I totally agree. Fantastic for KT. He needs that. He needs the the time on the park. But Carter Vickers for me really struggled today, and Callum McGregor really struggled, and it's not the first time I've said that. So them for me are going to be the new people who are going to get thrown under the bus every single week when I come on here now. If they have a Snyder, I'm going to call it out because it's just happening way too much. And Tony Watt shouldn't be causing you problems if you're a Celtic centre half. I think Big Simpson Pusey, what does he need to do to even get in the squad? Where was he? Is he playing with the B team, or is he still refusing to do so? I don't know what the deal is there.
Paddy, see on that to jump in, we're obviously talking about players about the action there. But I just think that it's a strange one. Like, there's certain players there. Simpson Pusey, Yamada, Inamura, Kenny, absolutely nowhere near it. I mean, what does that say, to sort of digress away, what does that say about these players in terms of where they are at Celtic and where they are likely are not to feature at all in this season? Because if you can't get a game at Firhill against Partick Thistle, or at least make the bench, then, you know, we often say about we get around circles, is it a message and all that kind of stuff? But what does this actually say for these guys? Like, what is the point? Is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
You know, Kenny's a head scratcher. We hear the manager saying that he likes what he sees. He says that he sings his praises about there's a good player in there, and he likes, you know, he's got all the attributes. He signs an extension. He's in the squad. He's out of squad. He's in the squad. He's out of squad. He's nowhere near that. Yamada, similarly, and Simpson Pusey brought up with good pedigree, captain of the Man City unders team, back-to-back championships, I believe. Was a player of the year last season. Nowhere near it. What's the point?
It's madness. Honestly, you look at our bench, and the bench was all right. It wasn't the strongest bench that we've had, but it was decent enough. You knew you had players there that could come on and make a bit of difference. Obviously, Dyson Maida, you would expect him to come on and make a difference. Balikwisha, I thought possibly, but there was a quite a strong bench. But these guys, I don't know what they need to do, Steve. Whether you keep them for the league, is it like you've said before, horses for courses here? Is it the old keeping guys for the league or keeping guys for Europe? I wouldn't imagine Yamada.
Where are they keeping them for? Where are they keeping them for the league? Because see, if you're saying keeping them for the league, and I would maybe argue the point, but yeah, see your games at home against whatever relegation fodder's going to be this season. Your Falkirk's at home. Your Falkirk's at home. I get that, but if you can't play them away to Firhill, you know, I would say that playing them away to Firhill against Partick Thistle is more a layup and an opportunity than playing them in a league match, even at home. So I just don't understand what it means. I don't understand, particularly when we're short on, let's face it, attacking and striking options. Tounekti's a bright spark. Balikwisha, we'll see what we get out of him. Iheanacho, still to bed in, right? And Maeda, again, maybe turn the corner. But when you look at it, you don't actually really have somebody that's a proper striker. Right? You know, whether you like him or not, Yamada and Kenny are both centre forwards. That's what their market is. That's what they are, right? I know that Daiz Maeda plays through the middle for Japan. He was when he came over to us, but he was brought in and he was predominantly a winger, and we shifted him into that position, right? You wouldn't have really considered him as being a striker until last season. Let's be totally honest, right? Yeah. Whereas Yamada and Kenny, they are strikers. They are meant to be strikers. They can't even make the bench. I just can't get my head around it. And I think that it's simply saying these guys are toast. Will these guys actually feature?
The thing is, Johnny Kenny's your main striker, I would say now. Obviously, we're losing Adamida in the transfer window there. Can I put Johnny Kenny? Obviously, I'm still kind of classing Dyson as a winger, but he's going to be your number one striker going into Europe and come up against the kind of bigger, the so-called bigger teams. But you would say Johnny Kenny is your main striker. Yamada, we know he can play on the wing as well. He's got the pace to play on the wing and come in and do a bit of damage there. But I just feel I don't know what the deal is with them. Whether they're not doing enough in training, what Brendan sees in them. But like you said, if you can't get a game against Partick Thistle in the cup, who can you get a game against? Because you're certainly not going to get a game in the league. And people saying in the chat there as well, we should send Big Simpson Pusey back. I said that last week, mate. he's come up here, apparently refused to play in the B team, and then he's been given it big licks. Probably thinks he's too good for a team like Celtic. Well, if that's the case, mate, sit in the stand. Simple as that. Do you know what I mean? Sit in the stand or go back down the road. So we'll wait and see. But listen, let's concentrate on the boys on the pitch and the boys that actually done a job. Get on to the next goal and we'll talk about Sebastian Tounekti, because you know what? I'm very impressed with him.
When I talk about Tounekti, obviously goes without saying. I think he's quite unlucky early on. A couple of flashy chances, cuts in, tries to get shots off, doing the right things. Probably deserved a goal in that first half, to be honest. But just in between, sandwiched in between the goals that we obviously get, there is, and I think it's worth mentioning, there is points in the game where the back two, and it was mentioned earlier on there in the comments, that Carter Vickers in particular, there's two, I think quite frankly, scandalous situations in the first half where he gets the ball under his feet and he's trapped and he's too casual and he almost gets dispossessed, and it's massive. One of them's a brilliant covering tackle for Scales, throws his body in front of it. But we spoke about the midfield, and we say that the midfield three haven't really lived up to their billing lately and need to show a lot more. And yeah, you might say, well, it's a 4-0 clean sheet. What's the moaning about? But again, we're just pointing out what we see. And I'm more thinking about beyond this game. I'm thinking about the game against Red Star during the week. And people have said that if we have some of the sort of slack parts of our play that we've seen today against Red Star away, you will get punished. You know, the midfield could easily get overrun. And the midfield, the defensive side of things, particularly Carter Vickers, you know, people don't like when you criticise certain people, whether it's particularly if it's Cal McGregor or particularly if it's Carter Vickers, because they've been so good and so consistent, so long, and, you know, for season upon season, game after game, they've been Mr. Consistent, right? I just feel like, see, Carter Vickers, I said this a couple of weeks ago, I think this whole idea, Cameron carpet slippers, and he can play with his slippers on. He's so cool. He's so calm. It's almost as if he's like he's bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. But he actually is that casual. It's like, that's my idea. That's the way I play. I can't play casual. Like, Cameron Carter Vickers has been shambolic lately. Yeah. And a guy who gets a lot of rough time, Scales, has been the better the defensive pairing in the centre for the vast majority of games, in my opinion. He's been the guy that's been motting up and he's been doing the dirty work, and he's been the one that's been covering the arse of the guy who's supposedly multiple levels ahead of him.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you. I thought Carter Vickers, he's looked lethargic. He's looked as if, like you say, he's been playing with the slippers on. Van Dijk was very nonchalant like that. He was very cool, composed, and just kind of swanned about. Do you know what I mean? Carter Vickers is nowhere near that league, despite what fans or he might think. You just need to look back at the game against Kairat as well, when he turns with the ball and he gets caught out. Remember, the guy nearly lobbed the keeper. And it's just, mate, for me, you can't be doing that. As soon as you come up against any sort of opposition, anybody with a bit of speed, he's done, because he's not got the turn of pace to get back in. And if you'd have told me last year, at the beginning of this year, that Liam Scales would have been our number one defender, I'd have told you to bolt. Do you know what I mean? I told you you were sniffing glue. But to be fair, he probably is our best defender at this minute in time. What's the deal with Trusty? Is he injured? Is he still out? I think he's still injured.
Well, he's obviously in the European squad, so they're kind of imagine that he's not going to be too far away from playing. He had that issue with the Archie's foot, which is supposedly quite like a painful injury and can sometimes need surgical intervention. Obviously, I think they're maybe just managing that and keeping him out the side. But, you know, there's some comments coming in, and I think it is true. I don't think anybody in the side, that's the reality now. We'll move on, but I don't think anybody in the side is completely free. You know, it's strange enough saying he does have credit in the bank because he's been so good. But, you know, we're getting there about 5 seasons now, as McLaughlin's saying as well. And I do think that he's been a certain guy who has had little to no genuine competition where it's been a safe jersey for him, in the same way that Alistair Johnson's has been a safe jersey, because there's never really been anybody to challenge him, and you kind of, masks a million sins. He's been fantastic over the seasons, but definitely I think that the tail end of last season, and certainly through the start of this season, Carter Vickers hasn't been good, let's be honest here. And it's strange off saying there, I think with the sort of, arrival of Dane Murray, like we saw with Donovan, who today I thought was very, astute, very well handled the game and looked very comfortable. He looked like a guy who certainly has plenty to offer. I liked the way that he sort of moved the ball about, tried to get the ball in the right positions as well, and he looked like a wee bit of attacking threat as well. Again, always caveat the teams that he's been playing against, Kilmarnock, and then of course Partick Thistle, but he'll play against Red Star during the week, and let's see how he gets on there. But I think that he's definitely shown that he's got what it takes to step up. And Dane Murray, in the sample size we've seen of him, he's shown that he could do it. Could he be somebody that eventually plays his way into the game over Carter Vickers? Maybe there's nothing to say that wouldn't be the thing, but I think that maybe Carter Vickers, like a few other guys on the side, might have hit his maximum now at Celtic, and as mental as it sounds, maybe he's another guy that probably needs to be moved on, that's hit his shelf life in the squad.
Aye. Look, who's it? Randy Snodden saying in the chat, I think CCV's got his eye out the door. Listen, he probably has. There's probably fucking every player in that Celtic squad, unless you've came through the roof and the youth setup and you've been brought up on Celtic, then listen, we're a buying and selling club. We're a stepping stone. Let's be honest. That's what we are. That's what we do. We get these players in. They perform to a high standard, and we sell them on. So Carter Vickers maybe feels that he's come in and he's done the job for a good while there. He's been getting told that he's the best defender in there and whatever. He's not really had anybody challenging for his position, and that's the problem. There's not really been anybody saying, right, I'm going to take that position right off him. And Dane Murray could be that guy. Like you said about young Kobe Donovan as well, what a player he is. He's kind of came out of nowhere for me. Obviously the injury to Ralston kind of forced their hand a wee bit there, but he's come in and he's covered himself in glory. I don't think he's really put a foot wrong. He likes to get forward.
Lachlan's asking the question about, obviously Quinny's pointed out some guys are back in the fold.
Yeah.
And saying, if Ralston's available, does he jump ahead of Donovan for the game against Red Star? I personally think no. I think no. I like Tony Ralston, but I think we have to move on for Tony Ralston. Tony Ralston, with no disrespect, again, people don't like when you cause one of your own and all that, right? Tony Ralston has been a good servant to Celtic, but he's in the same mould of guys like Bain, who, let's face it, have well outstayed their welcome. Like that's the reality. Well outstayed their welcome, and has only been there because of terrible squad management and depth and purchasing. That's the reason he's there. Now, he had a great game and a great season or so under Ange. He's shown in good flashes that he can be dependable in most games, but the reality is Ralston is let's not forget whether you think, but then he kicked on. This is a guy who couldn't get games for St Johnstone, didn't he, right? I mean, come on, seriously. Like, let's get real here, right? So I think we need to look beyond guys like Ralston. Ralston's still young in football and age, but he's old in terms of Celtic age. Made Celtic a long time. We need to start bringing in guys and bleeding in guys like Donovan and giving them a chance over the old guard that, to be honest, probably should have been out the door. See if Kobe Donovan kicks on this season and plays the way that he has been and shows the level that he has in the games that he's played so far, and then Celtic get to the season where they've got Alistair Johnson back and maybe another one. Tony Ralston should be out the door. That's what I'm at.
I kind of agree with you. Ralston's one of the guys, like you say, Steve. He's been there. He's done it. He's been reliable, and that's kind of all you can ask. He comes in and he does a job. No matter what you put him in, you know what you're going to get. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and obviously he was always second pick to Alistair Johnson and second pick to Juranovic and whoever else has been in there. We've always had a kind of decent enough right back that's kind of kept Tony out of the squad, but Donovan is one for me. He's kind of came in and he's made that spot his own at the minute. I can see Tony Ralston coming back and having to fight for that position. Obviously, I think when Johnson comes back, then he'll step straight in. I think he's another level above what Donovan is. But the young lad needs to take that on the chin and then learn from it, and basically make himself the number 2, like you said, and then that kind of pushes Tony Ralston onto something else. Seen somebody saying there that he was a Partick Thistle level player, and maybe could put him out on loan or sell him to them, because he's unfortunately not going to be in and around the squad if we get guys.
I think if Alistair Jones comes from back and Donovan kicks on, he's down the pecking order, and rightfully so. But listen, let's get to what it says on the tagline. You know, it's all about Sebastian Tounekti. Sensational Seb. 2 games, 2 man of the match performances. You know, he goes off, and it shows you how much an impact he has and how good he was that he lasts just under an hour.
Yeah.
He's still man of the match. You know, it comes on, and I'll be honest, and I will never tire of saying this. Again, it shows you that sometimes videos and stats, you know, can not tell the whole story, because we profiled the player, done that wee sort of brief bit of scouting around him, and I'll be honest with you, I think just on a hard facts and figures, I was not bowled over with what I saw, right? I genuinely wasn't. I thought for a creative player and a creative position, I didn't think his goals to assists, goal involvement per game ratio was good, right? It wasn't. Let's not kid ourselves on it. Wasn't. But that's why stats are on paper, and the old eye test tells you a million different things, because once again, Paddy, you know, bad pitch, as folk wanted to say and make excuses for other players and other wingers last week against Kilmarnock. Likewise, again, long grass and drying sections, soaking in other sections. Nah, didn't matter. 2 terrible pitches, 1 artificial, 1 a bit long. Tounekti does what Tounekti wants, because he turns up, he's got the hunger, he's got the desire, he's got the drive. He is a flashback to a winger of old, takes on his man, constantly hitting the byline, trying to get the ball in, trying to influence the game. And as other people are saying, it just sort of whets the appetite. Just imagine we get back a Jota who is fully fit and ready to go, who's very versatile, who, despite favouring 1 foot, can actually play on both wings, Paddy. So that would be a nice sort of thing to have, wouldn't it?
Mate, the idea of both of them in the same team is exciting. It's one of the things. For me, Tounekti, he cuts inside. He knows exactly what he's going to do. He's phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? For me, like you say, Steve, was 60 minutes and still to get a man of the match performance was just absolutely fantastic. Going forward, he's exciting, and we've not really had that. Obviously, with Louis Palmer on that wing previous, and you knew what you were getting with Palmer. You knew he was going to cut inside, and the defenders knew he was going to do it. And it was one for me where Tounekti, he's got that thing where it's as if he doesn't know what he's going to do, but obviously he's streets ahead of the defenders. He's brilliant. He's attacking minded. He's not scared to pass it, and he's got a decent enough delivery on him as well. And he drives for the byline, which I love.
Yeah.
So the thought of having him and Jota, mate, that's just,
you know. See to wind the clock back a wee bit, and I don't really agree. Sorry, with a lot that comes out of Charles Mulgrew's mouth as of late. But one thing I did agree with today was when they were talking about Tounekti, right? And it comes back to, now I know what's happened has happened, and obviously as you boys saying there about, you know, Europa League should be going through, cruising.
Yeah.
It should be. Like there is 1 or 2 tough games in there, but we should be, you know, we shown last season that we can do it if we can put in decent enough performances. There's no reason why Celtic shouldn't get out of this group for the Europa, right? But let's forget the Europa and just wind back, if we can, to the Kairat game. What was the biggest problem in those 2 games was lack of creativity, lack of direct action, a player taking on their man, trying to influence the game, trying to make things happen. And as I say, as much as I don't agree with a lot that he says of these days, Mulgrew says that. He goes, well, look at Tounekti.
Yeah.
Look at what he contributes. Look at what he's done against Kilmarnock. Look what he does here. You just think, if Celtic had, for once, done the forward planning and had a guy like that, and I'm not saying that it would have transformed it, and oh my God, we'd have slaughtered Kairat over the two legs, but wouldn't it have been nice to have somebody that actually created chances in these two games?
I think that would have been the difference, mate. Like you said, Charlie Mulgrew, he's very, very opinionated and he's very hard to agree with sometimes, but I totally get it there. I totally see it. And like you said, in the both games against Kairat, we were flat down the wings. There was nothing. There was no drive. There was no imagination. There wasn't really any kind of drive in the squad. And I think a player like Tounekti, with that passion and that kind of ability that he's got to just grab the game by the scruff of the neck, he's got a bit of pace about him as well. Cracking turn of pace. So I feel like he would have been a massive difference in a game like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he would have. I really think, and Ryan said, this is the kind of player that we sort of we want to see. We've been looking for someone who is going to be exciting you, getting you off the edge of your seat.
Yeah,
making you chat, sort of make these sort of chats that we're doing here. As people are saying, the Jota thing, yeah, it's an ideal world when he comes back. Massive injury, no guarantee what we're going to get. I think we need to sort of slowly bring him back into things. But the signs there are very good. And obviously I see Punja saying, well, I don't know what you were watching on YouTube. And again, just in mentioning that, I will say what I saw was a lot of running at players, right? But when I married that up against these numbers, I went, well, he just, where's the goals is what I'm talking about. Where was all the goals is what I was looking for. I was looking for the goals and all the assists, and there wasn't many of them. There was loads of like tricky feet stuff. Look at Lewis Palmer's YouTube reel. You thought that was some player, and then look what you got there. So I think I'm basing it based on the facts against the figures, and that how sometimes when you clip together a video, you can make anybody look, fantastic. That's sort of where I'm at with that one. I just think that I've been really, really, really surprised. Really surprised with Tounekti, but I am more than happy to be surprised with him, and hopefully he kicks on. That's exactly what we need. And I think that when we look at it, and another one, I just want to bring it up because the two wingers, right? And people are saying, and folk will criticise me, knock yourself out. I'm all for it. I see a lot of defence still for Yang. I'm not interested in Yang. Honestly, I am desperate for Balikwisha, Forrest, Jota, any of those guys to be back and get on it, because I'm bloody sick of seeing Yang, right? I'll be honest, I'm going to be that guy. I'm very, very rarely a guy who gets on the soapbox and starts banging and slaughtering folk, but I am sick and tired of Yang. I'm sick and tired of getting told about how he's a player in there and he's this and that. No, get him in the bin, right? Scores the day. And he has another one chance where he sort of takes a shot, comes back and fires it over the bar. See, other than that, nah, right, that's it. And is he our other winger by default? I hope not. I certainly hope not. I hope that Balikwisha starts to get his finger out his backside. I thought when he comes on, he looks slightly better than he did. Not that would be hard, to be honest, against two performances I've seen before. But nah, I think honestly, I'm going to rant a wee bit. Fed up with Yang, Paddy. I want your thoughts on it. I know that you were saying in the Yang gang and all this and that and all that kind of stuff, but no, it's up there with but is Malia Sorrow's a nice guy because he's always smiling? Is Malia Sorrow shitey football, right? And so's Yang, by the way.
I don't know if you can put him in the same boat as Malia Sorrow. I think he's a bit better player than what he was. We were talking in the chat, and I said I was going to get t-shirts made up with the Yang gang on them, and we're going to all be wearing them round about. But I just feel like we're very short on options in there. Balikwisha, like you said, he hasn't come in and started the way he would have wanted to. Tounekti is doing what we thought Balikwisha was going to do, because Balikwisha, let's be honest, this is a guy we chased for 3 years and was going to come in, played really well at Antwerp. He was a guy that his numbers actually did add up. He was decent, playing at a decent level, and we thought, right, excellent, this boy's going to come in here and do a bit of damage. And he's kind of come in up against the Hall of Famer, Mr. Tav, and he was scared to go past him. And I thought, this boy should be just turning and burning. Just show him a clean set of heels, get past him, get to the byline and get the ball in the box. And he just seemed every time he got there, he kind of turned back and passed the ball back into either Hatate or McGregor, who then probably just kicked the ball away, just lost it. And we seemed to lose quite a lot of possession through it. But at this minute in time, Steve, whether we can admit it or not, Yang is probably the better option because Balikwisha's not showing that he is better. He's coming in, he looks predictable. He just looks like another Louis Palmer.
Listen, I mean? Paddy, I know that I'm being harsh, right? And I'll be honest, I'm being deliberately harsh because one thing I'll always say is on this channel, we're always honest. We'll tell you what, and the term I use is our truth. That doesn't mean that it's fact, right? Feel free to disagree with me. I'm not here to say I'm right and you're wrong and vice versa. We always sit here and we give what we say is our truth. And I have flipped and flopped at times and went, there's Yang there. But I've had 2 seasons of Yang, right? And learned very, very quickly he's not to be depended on, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get excited because he does his job. Now, I don't understand what Brown's saying there, right? He turns up and he works and that's that. And that's as much as you can ask for, right? Mm. But to quote Roy Keane, it's his job. Plays for Celtic. See, when you're played, I expect you put in a shift. You see, if you don't, fuck off, up the road, right? So I give you no credit in the bank for that because I know he was messed about, and I've said this about him, and I've said this about Maeda. This is what version are you going to get off him? So yes, the fact that Maeda has turned up and he scored a vital goal last week, Yang contributes today with a goal, and he tries when he's on the pitch. That's the bare minimum I expect for these guys. But I have just, I think I've tried to be nice too often, and I've flipped and flopped. There's been points where I've been slaughtering Yang, and I've come around and went, you know what, guy proved me wrong, and good on him, and that's not right. But I will just take Yang for now on face value, game to game, because he's no one to be here, and I don't want to be at Celtic either, right?
Yeah.
And again, that sounds really harsh because I will support guys when they take to the field, but still doesn't mean I have to like them or want them to be there.
Yeah,
and I think get Yang to January, get a couple of performances, and get him sold.
Yeah, like you and boy Martin's saying in there as well, Steve. Well, if Yang scores 10 goals between now and January, does it change your mind? I'll answer that for you, mate. No, it will not change Steve's mind. He could score a hat-trick pretty much every week until January, and Steve will not change his mind. He's set in his ways.
It's not about being set in my ways. And I know we're going down a rabbit hole, and it's an uncharacteristic rant for me about certain players. And because we don't normally do this, but I'm just... See, today, it bounced around all my chats, and it just done my head in.
I know where you're coming from.
But I turned around and I says, I can't believe Yang's starting over Balikwisha. What the fuck's happening here?
Yeah.
I was like, now I know that I criticised Balikwisha in his 2 performances, but as I said, I went, Partick Thistle, come on, let's go, right? So I was surprised that he didn't play. And then folk were saying, give him a chance, maybe he's shown that, and I get all that, right? But I'm like, let's stop reinventing the wheel here. Let's stop trying to rewrite history. Yang had a purple patch. Mm. And I says, how many games after that wee purple patch did they stink the place out where people, not just myself, were saying he should never play for Celtic again? And he got another chance, and he got another one. He should never play for Celtic again. And he played another stinking game. Should never play for Celtic again. And then he comes back today, he scores a goal. He's like, it's Sears, I played. No, there isn't, right? Yang scores the day, and that's it. He maybe turns up next week and he sets one up, right? But then he'll go 3-4 games being absolutely garbage. Aye. He's hit his maximum, Paddy. Ran over.
Fair play. We'll give you that. Listen, if he pulls on that Celtic jersey, I'll back him. I will be in the Yang gang if he's on the park. But I do agree. I don't think he is the one that we've got to rely on. I don't think we should be relying on a player of Yang's ability.
Sorry, John, this is what I'm saying again. I know I'm ranting. I don't care. He's 22. He's professional football. He's been Celtic for 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
We always listen. We want the best for players, but we're great at finding excuses why people are garbage.
Yeah.
Where? It's like, as I say, Balikwisha, sorry to jump in. Balikwisha, he playing against Rangers, big occasion. Yeah, I can understand he was ropey. I mean, what'd you expect? Playing Rangers. Then he plays crap against Kilmarnock. Terrible pitch. What'd you expect? No, just say he was crap against Rangers. He was crap against Kilmarnock, and he was better the day.
Slightly better the day. He didn't really do much again when he came on, but I think, was he not given the assist for McCown's goal? I'm not sure. But 420s, he's in with me. 420, me and him are getting the Yang Gang t-shirts. We're going to be sporting them on the next page, mate. I'll get them made up. 420, I'll get them done, man.
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
And Brown saying we could level that Hatate as well. By God, listen, as I say, I try my best to be objective, and I'm normally the Mr. Level on this podcast. I'm normally the guy that says, let's look at it objectively and tries to hang with. But I'll be honest, I've just snapped to Yang. I've had enough of it. The beast is coming out. The angry Steve-O's coming out. I'm fed up with that garbage, man.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of players in the squad at this minute in time that are lacking. We'll say you highlighted the midfield three, Steve-O, and for me, they're the kind of ones that we expect more of, especially guys like Callum McGregor. He's really lacking, and I think it's a position that we're going to need to strengthen. We're going to need to replace. Arnie Engels, I think, could be the person to step into that squad, step into that position, and make it his own. I would like to see Luke McCown starting in the next game, because you know what? Again, Steve-O, he's come in and he's made the difference. He's scored a goal again. And how many times does that guy need to come off the bench and score a goal before he gets a start? What's the deal there?
Well, Paddy, yep, let's rein it back in, right? Let's bring it back then. Let's get back to some positivity. Yes, so 2-0 up. We go through. We get some of the standard changes. We'll get Callum getting off for Bernardo, the guy that we all thought was going to start. We get Maeda coming on for Iheanacho, who, by the way, I think we didn't really say much about him. I think it's a great wee 1-2 for Tounekti's goals. A fantastic goal for Tounekti. Caps off a brilliant performance. I thought that Iheanacho did quite well today. Still doesn't look sharp, and it sounds daft because some of the stuff that we criticise Ida we say he wasn't really good at being a target man. He wasn't really good at being a focal point. Iheanacho isn't anywhere near as big a guy as he does, but he seemed to just occupy defenders' minds a bit more than an Adam Ida does. Maybe because he's constantly loitering about just the edge of the box and in the box rather than trying to join up play. He does a wee join up bit of play with Tounekti there. But I thought Iheanacho, just in passing before we mention subs, had a decent wee outing.
Yeah, listen, I was impressed. He kind of held the line. I used to play right in the shoulder of defenders as well, and that puts defences under a lot of pressure. Yes, it was Partick Thistle. We're aware of that, and I kind of expected him to get a goal today. I thought he probably deserved that. He had a nice wee shot on target, kind of early doors. He was getting himself about. He was linking up the play as well. And the 1-2 with Tounekti for his goal was sublime. It was brilliant. The wee pass in, and he doesn't even need to look. He knows exactly where Tounekti's going with it, and he just dinks it into his path, cracking finish. So, yeah, listen, it was a decent enough start, decent enough outing for him. And I think he's one that's going to come good. I'd said before, obviously, Johnny Kenny being one of the strikers that we're going to have to rely on here. Like, Kelechi's going to possibly lead the line, isn't he? He's the one that's...
Well, see, I was getting a wee bit of a sort of a doing over for my Yang ranty, if you want to call it that. But as you say, you mentioned about Kenny and being one of our main strikers and get laughed out. I don't know where you got that for.
Yes, though.
Past my head. But he isn't, Paddy. He can't even get on the bench, man. Come on.
Right. If you're classing Daisameda as a striker, then fair play. Daisameda is your main striker. Kelechi Iheanacho is the one that's came in to replace Adam Ida, who was our main striker. But beyond that, you've got Johnny Kenny or Yamada. Yamada hasn't even... He's not getting a sniff. Do you know what I mean? Other than a cameo appearance against Rangers where he looked brilliant for a flash. He kind of flashed by, he ran the full length of the park in about 3 seconds was nice. But other than that, mate, there's not really much attacking options. But
I mean,
Iheanacho was decent enough. I'll take it.
Aye, so we get the changes. Sorry again, about this is a great thing about doing these things live. You kind of just snake around and get down wee rabbit holes, but that's all good. That's what we're here to do. But yeah, we get our after changes. They're all roughly the typical, between 60 to 70 minutes. Negrin off, McCowan on, Hatate off, Engels on, Cal McGregor replaced with Bernardo, Iheanacho for Maeda, and then of course Tounekti for Balikwisha. We get the substitutions coming in, and we get a bit of a change in the midfield. Did you feel that by comparison to the starting three for that sort of remainder of the game, did you feel that the midfield looked a wee bit more joint up? Did you feel that the play improved any much quality over the three guys that did start? Because I say that they've been the go-to, and I just feel that they've all been very slow and laboured, and people are still saying, people don't like criticising it, but Cal McGregor hasn't been his best in a long time for Celtic. Did you feel that there was a increased tempo or quality from the guys coming on?
Aye, you felt like there was a goal coming. You felt like there was going to be something there because, listen, guys like I said, Luke McCowan, every time he's on, it looks like he's going to score. Bernardo came in, I think he had a wee bit of a point to prove, but it doesn't really... I want to see players, my midfield players driving. I want to see them turning and going forward all the time. I hate this wee horseshoe of death that we do, Steve. It's been called out so many times, and all this passing back and whatever. And I know it's the Brendan Rodgers way, you keep the possession and you play the ball wide and look for the spaces and then do that. But I want my midfield to open up the game. I want exciting players in there, guys like Tom Rogic, guys like Matt O'Reilly, who you could rely on for doing this. That's why I like Rio Hatate, because he was one of the players that does this. But let's face it, he's again been way off it. He's been nowhere near the player that I expect him to be. So, yeah, it was good to see the changes. It was good to see Engels, Bernardo and McCowan getting a run out in there. I think that's what we should have started with, and that's what we said. We said, if you're ever going to kind of put down a wee marker here and give these guys a shot, that was it. We got to see them, but do
you think, Paddy, that any of those three guys that come on give food for thought to the manager looking at Red Star during the week? Because
McCowan,
because people are shouting out, and Brown Warrior says Bernardo. I really don't know what the situation is, man. Brendan Rodgers is so unpredictable that I wouldn't be surprised in an away game to Red Star that he parachutes in Bernardo, right? Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised. Out of the blue, would not be surprised.
Yeah. When you look at all the European games last year, Steve, and the year before when we had Bernardo on loan, he was straight in. Every single Champions League game, Bernardo was your main starter. You could have hung your hat on that. That was one of the ones where you could have just went, he's starting in there, definitely.
I think the reality is, as much as I wouldn't be against him, again, bold statement, wouldn't be against him getting dropped, I wouldn't lose sleep about dropping Cal McGregor against Red Star. However, you know he's going to play, right? Let's not kid ourselves on. You know he's going to play, right? Hatate, again, your top man. We've been sitting here and the comments are alive with it as well. He has an okay performance, but again, I think he's vastly underwhelming. He had that wee springy step early on. You went, here we go, he's bought in. Mm-hmm. Then I question and think, is he one of the guys who maybe wanted away in the summer? Who knows? He just doesn't look the same guy after the window slammed shut. Still looks sort of hot and cold. People are saying drop Negrin. I think Negrin had influenced the game today with 2 assists, but again, if you take them away from it, he's not the same guy that we saw during pre-season. There's been a drop-off. I think he's sort of became very safe as well. I think McCowan plays very well. He comes on and he influences it. I think Bernardo's tidy. People are again, and we go back to guys, Engels is a guy who has got a raw deal at times off of us. And folk have pulled us up about it, not been happy about it, but there's a lot of comments in there saying as well that Engels flatters to deceive again. He comes on all right, he gets 20 minutes, but if you told me he didn't come on the pitch, I probably wouldn't have called you a liar.
Yeah. There's a few players in the middle of the park there that just kind of go under the radar. But Luke McCown isn't one of them, and he hasn't been for a long time. As soon as you put Luke McCown in there, you know what you're going to get. He's a young boy living his dream, wee chocolate bar, and he just goes for it. And the amount of goals that he's scored coming for the bench, important goals as well. I don't know what he needs to do to secure one of these spots, because, like you say, Steve O'Neill, yeah, he gets 2 assists, but nothing else. There wasn't really anything in there that you go, oh, he had a great game there. He played really well, and I can't even remember any kind of link-ups or whatever else. It was just all kind of, it's as if you bypass the wingers, the midfield now. The ball's kind of getting out to Kieran Tierney to Tounekti. Tounekti's driving for the byline, putting the ball in the box. Then out in the other wing, it's going to Donovan up to whether it be Yang or Barakwisha. You're not really going into the middle of the park, which I think could become quite predictable, especially if you're coming up against teams like Red Star and obviously Roma going to be coming to Celtic Park as well. I think teams like that will catch on to this really, really quickly. So we need to get players in there that are going to cause a bit of damage. And I think Luke McCown's the guy for that job.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the other subs that comes on, Tounekti, outstanding man, guy we'll be looking to during the week to really give us a spark. Barakwisha comes on and plays off him.
Mm-hmm.
Just to briefly touch on him before we crack on to other events around the game. What did you think of Barakwisha? Now he gets awarded an assist for the McCown goal, which I don't really like as an assist. He missed the tackle and kind of falls over and the ball breaks, but take it as it comes. Put it on his tally. I thought he looked marginally more positive in terms of he wanted to carry the ball a bit. It's pretty clear that he is a very different winger to Tounekti, to Jota, to Forrest, to even, dare I say, that Yang. He looks more maybe Maeda-ish. He doesn't have the pace, but what I mean is Maeda just, he wasn't really a winger, but he found ways to get round the play, if that makes sense. I don't think he's going to carry the ball and run with it, is what I'm getting at. I think he's going to be a guy that's maybe looking for 1-2s and get him behind rather than doing it on his own.
For me, he just seems one-footed, and that's a problem for me. You see him coming down the wing at some points, and he's just always cutting back onto the right foot, Steve. And Tounekti, yeah, if he cuts inside, he's got a right foot, but he's driving for the byline. You're not getting that with Barakwisha, and that's why I keep saying he's like Louis Palmer, because that's the only thing that he done every single game, and it became so predictable that it became null and void. And I don't want that to happen with Barakwisha. I think there is going to be a player there. I think he's probably going to be more suited to play on the right side. Obviously, have Tounekti on the left and Barakwisha on the right, because he always seems to cut to that right foot. So if he's going to be putting the ball in with his right foot, then play him on the right wing so that he's actually crossing the ball in and driving.
It maybe sounds like a daft thing to say, right? Now, I sit here and I was quite vocal. And again, I always maintain that. Where people say he's not playing on his preferred side, right? Mm-hmm. Now, do you think with a guy like Tounekti, who looks fearless and looks like he's determined to do whatever it takes to, cause damage, would it be worth experimenting and changing him over to give Barakwisha a shot on his preferred side, just to see what happens? And then hope that works, because I think looking at it, I think Tounekti has Jota vibes where you could probably change him over and he'll just say, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think that, yes, you might get a better return out of him playing on his preferred side, but if you switch him over, he still wants to play, he's still eager, he still wants to make an impact, and he'll just do what he wants to do. Is that maybe what we need to do? Do we maybe need to try a game where we start Barakwisha in his favoured side and move somebody else who's probably, dare I say it, more willing to do whatever it takes?
Aye, well, you seen his interview when he first came in, and he was talking about how he likes to play. He likes to drive at players. He likes to put the ball forward, and he likes to he likes to attack. He's a very attacking player and things like that. And if that's what it takes, Steve, like you said, if it's going to take him playing on the other side to give Balikwisha a chance, then by all accounts, go for it. But who do you do that against? Obviously, the game against Red Star is going to be no shoot in. Then we get Hibs after that. It's not going to be an easy one. I mean, you don't want to be changing things too much. Obviously, he's proven on the left-hand side, so can I keep him there at the minute? Or it's maybe something that you do in training, then you kind of you start it there and see what you can do. But
I would have more confidence, Paddy, in doing that and playing Balikwisha and Tounekti than I would playing Yang.
I don't know. I'd stick with Yang. He scored a goal today. Balikwisha didn't score a goal, so stick Yang in next week for me.
We go. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. But anyway, Paddy, let's get on to the off-the-field stuff. Yes, I know people are probably bored of it, but it's definitely going to be kicking around. We obviously have seen the things as we're being involved in. Now, if you've probably seen it, you might have seen the sort of sharing. We've got the Celtic Fans Collective. So, in case you're not aware, off the back of the chat at Gracie's, this is basically what they're looking to have the makeup of it represented. I won't read all through it, but I'll just bring up, you can sort of reference it. You can check us out on X, Celtic Fans Collective. This is going to be the makeup of the representation from the group, all right? And there's objectives. I'm not going to read through them. You can get this details here. Job it sort of, because these movements are great, but they need to be an end game. Shout and sack the board is only part of it, right? You can't just say that's what we want and that's it. It needs to be proper objectives and looking for results. Otherwise, it's completely and utterly pointless. But Celtic Fans Collective have done that, right? They've put these out, and as you will well know, we got another protest. Everybody was in nice and early, and of course, we saw this, which was all Celtic fans against the board with those lovely wee printed out signs of various board members with a big no sign over them. The printers must have been making an absolute fortune. And of course, here's a wee sort of snippet from the actual on the ground, so to speak. So yes, pretty, clear message there. And then later on, of course, we get another reminder of the Law era failings there. Now, Paddy, how did our board members represented at the stadium take it? Well, that's how they took it there. Looking at the phones on OrderTech, what they're talking about us again, sending the text messages. I thought it was a very well organised demonstration. Well done to all the people that were involved. I know there was people there early that were handing out flyers, that were getting involved, and the fan participation and holding up said material was phenomenal. It was very well taken up, and I think it's a right good sign. But again, there you go. I mean, what did you expect, Paddy? Did you think they were actually going to take it? And I do think that it would have been nice to have seen their faces, to look like they were actually taking it in and taking stock, because that's just a snippet. This is just another sort of version of what's to come. These are going to be continual. They're going to probably up in scale, up in size. The message is going to be continually fired out there, game to game, match to match. But still, we don't see like we're getting any real acknowledgement from them, Paddy.
No, they don't care. It's just as if they've got this them and us mentality, and it's as if they're looking down their nose. Look what they're doing now. And you've seen, obviously, once the kind of demonstration was over and the fans had kind of thrown the posters onto the park and stuff, and the players were kicking them off the park, it kind of flashed onto the board, and you see, I don't know who it was, the one on the right-hand side's going, as if, like, what they've done again, they're kind of delaying the game, do you know what I mean? As if, kind of, looking down his nose is the only way I could say it, Steve, and you need to get these people where it hurts, and that's their pockets. Like that, like 420 says there, the stocks and shares. That's exactly what they've been doing, mate. Checking that kind of guff because they certainly don't care what happens on that part. They proved that by not investing in the club.
Yeah.
They show no.
I mean, I think it was very well supported, and folk like it. I'll just bring this up with Jason here. He basically says it was a lazy cut and paste. Now, I don't agree with that because bear in mind this was put in motion long before, pretty much after the last game, and Rangers just happened to play before us. This was something that was planned before that. That wasn't done overnight. This is something that's been done throughout the course of the week, and Rangers have just happened to have done it. So, and again, in terms of originality, what do you expect? Like, look at whether it's a manager's face with a no sign on a black and white. It's the old classic. It's not about originality. There will be a lot more original things to come. I just think it's, believe it or not, sheer coincidence that it was the exact sort of same type of thing that we saw from Rangers. But as I said, this was something that was arranged well through the course of the week before that. This wasn't something that went out last night when that looks brilliant. Let's print that out and do that today. I think that there'll be more original things to come, and there will be a lot more sort of things to come. But seeing so many people getting involved with it, and obviously the noise that was coming out, it's a united front, and that is the most important thing here. Obviously there'll be different angles that will come at it, and I'm sure it will get more inventive as time goes on, Paddy.
Yeah, listen, that's it. Like you say, Steve, we use the word united front, and that's what we need to be. Certain other media outlets have been putting up videos and pictures of people and saying that they were fighting amongst themselves at the park as well. And listen, you're always going to get this stuff. You're always going to get people throwing negative jibes in there and people trying to say that we are not talking for the whole Celtic fan base, which you're never going to convince everybody that this is the right way forward. There are people out there, you call them what you want, happy clappers, scabs, whatever you want, you can call them whatever. But we need to educate these people on why we need to do this going forward, why we need to get this change, because listen, the board for me are showing no ambition, and they haven't done for a long time. Yes, we invested 30 million in Adam Ida, Arne Engels and Austin Trusty. They were anomalies. That was due to selling one of our major assets. But listen, this fan protest needs every single fan to stick together, and that's exactly what we need. You're muted, Steve. I don't know what you've done.
I said I think that would be a creative one, to say the least, what Brown Warrior said up there. I don't know the logistics here. A massive phallus in the sky would go down, but I think I might get a bit unsavoury. But yes, I think that it's a term that some people would describe some of our board members would be cocks. So, but I think as long as the protests continue, and as I say, it's the important thing for me is it's a unity, and it's the way that we do things and the way that we conduct our business. I think keeping it savoury, keeping it above board, keeping it, of course, I say, is legal is the way to do it. And I think that it will start to ramp up. I really think you'll start to see a major difference. It's going to be, I'm really looking forward to the game against Hibs, Paddy. To see what's planned for that. Because the board have had it a wee bit lucky. Well, they've had a couple of weeks breakwater where they've not been at Celtic Park. Yeah. So that's one that will be worth keeping an eye on there to see what happens against Hibs. But the important thing is saying in the comments, is finding that fine balance where it doesn't detract from what's happening on the pitch. I think it is important, and the fans were in fantastic voice all throughout the course of the game today. They really backed the team, they really pushed them on. That is great to see, but they still managed to get their message across. Again, taking advantage of being on the TV, taking advantage of there being members of the board in there, whether they were looking at it or not, they certainly would have heard it, but it'll be a completely different story when we get to Celtic Park. And I think, and I would encourage all fans that when that game comes against Hibs, again, reiterating it, make sure we do things in the appropriate manner, because we don't want to give them any ammunition. And I can understand that the first home game, that with all the sort of emotions and the tensions running high, that it could potentially, tip over the other way. You won't like me saying this. Rangers done it at home against Hibs, and it went without any harm and any real occasion. They managed to get their side across, and I'll be honest with you, they are actually quite funny because they had inflatable sharks that they threw at the team, and I thought that was actually quite funny for them.
I know one of my mates had a jibe at me about that, the whole Sharkgate thing, and I took great pride in sending them the pictures back of the sharks getting flung by their fans. So, as Steve, what you said, the main priority needs to be supporting the team. Like we've said on here, support the team, sack the board. It's as simple as that. We need to show the team that we are behind them, and I think we're doing that. I think the noise from the fan base today, and even at Kelly, was brilliant. We're still bringing the noise. We're still showing the team that we've got the support. You've seen that at the end as well when Brendan Rodgers pushed young Colby Donovan in to get his applause for the fans, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Something that wee boy I've dreamed about. Incredible. So stick together, do what we do, and do it the right way. Like you say, Steve, none of this spray painting stuff and whatever else, unless it's a banner. I mean, we can spray paint banners, but just leave the outside of Celtic Park as it is.
Paddy, just to finish up on this, can I ask you a question? Stevie's saying what everybody's saying. Why aren't the board actually engaging with us on this? I asked this question when I was on with James Forrest, and I says, again, folk hate me saying this because it's important to bring in what's happening at Rangers for context. Right now, they're protesting because they want to be able to compete domestically, right?
Yeah.
That's the reality. Celtic are protesting because we want more than just being good domestically. We want improvement that will help still dominate domestically, but push on for a European standpoint. So we're in two different realms where we want more. But, and I will say this, the board have been very silent, continual. The original statement basically says, shut up, we know what we're doing, beat it. The statements contained within the accounts where they sounded a wee bit more apologetic without actually taking any ownership. It was just jargon. It was just, paint by numbers, garbage to sound genuine. And of course, Peter Law's statement was a rip-roaring arse because he didn't even know the score of the Bayern Munich game. He thought that we went out 2-1 on aggregate last season, the Champions League. But you look at what happens there, and their board are coming under increasing pressure, similar to ours, yet they have a meeting with fan bodies, and they bring them in, and they sit down face-to-face, and they listen to whatever those gripes are, whether it's just for face value and they take notice of it or not. They are still engaging with their fans, whether they want to do it or not. Yet we still find ourselves with nothing tangible, mate. As I say, guys looking away, answering them imaginary phone calls, texting away, putting out statements telling it's all right, and the underlying message you've probably seen printed in one of the red tops is, we're sorry and we'll learn for it. Again. I mean, come on.
Listen, it's one of them. They don't get it. They don't understand that it could all go a little bit easier. See, like you say, Steve, see if they come out like your man Bond did, stand in front of the fan base and go, right, this is my vision. This is what I'm going to do. We've not had that for Celtic. See if Michael Nicholson can stand up in front of, like you say, Steve, even if it's the fan media side, see even if it's all the podcasts and a couple of supporters groups and whatever.
I want to bring this up for a food for thought here, Paddy, just what Mark's saying. He says the difference between Rangers and that, they're private, Celtic are public train, and they can't say anything because it might impact the value of the club investment and all that stuff, right? No, they can bring in fan groups and sit down like Rangers did, whether you want to hear that or not, and talk to the fans. Nobody's... it would be nice of them to come out and say something in a statement in the public domain, right? And I understand what you're saying. They might not want to look a certain way. I get that, right? It is all business.
Yeah.
But it's inexcusable that you can't take the time to have like a fan forum or something and ask people to come in and answer their questions behind closed doors.
Yeah. But then that'll get out. Obviously, we share it on the platforms and stuff. I think it'd be a good idea, it'd be a good start.
Well, of course it will, but then it just becomes, it could potentially be hearsay. I understand if they come out and it's get, Celtic headed on the website or on headed paper, whatever term you want to put on it, and they're putting it out there, right? They're putting it out there with their signature on it, right? I get that. But we sitting down and talk to them.
And then we put out on the platforms, Chinese whispers, essentially.
It can be just rumour and innuendo. It can just be whatever it is. It's one of those ones, not to say that it would obviously be reported as being true because you're there, but the reality of it is that there would be, it's designed to speak directly to the fans. That's all that people want, I think.
Listen, mate, we want liaison. We've got a liaison officer at Celtic, guy John Paul Taylor, doing the job of 30, 40 people. We've said that on here before. We just want to know what's going on behind the scenes, why the money is being kept. Because they're certainly not upgrading the stadium. The stadium's looking very, very tired. We've said that on here before. Paul John Dykes even spoke about it, saying that different parts of the stadium, the banners and things are all very, very dated. And there's parts of the stand that need a lot of maintenance, rapid. So that for me is something. See if they come out and say, listen, guys, we're not going to spend 40 million on players this year because this is what we're going to do to the stadium. Look at what we've done to our training facility for our women and stuff now as well. Brilliant. All of that's all fine and well, but
Paddy, when we had to jump in that, when I was on the other night there by James Forrest, we spoke about this off the back of those accounts. Now, the accounts showed that we are pretty much on an even keel, but £0.5 million more in the bank than we were that time last year. Increasing costs that went up, so it makes a wee bit of sense. But then, of course, you've got to account for the sales that weren't in those accounts. So the reality is there's probably maybe about, realistically, after you're running and day-to-days and all that, there's maybe about 85 million thereabouts in the bank, right? And we asked this question, we says, well, we look at the Barrafield project and they say there's about £20 million. And it's a vanity project, let's be honest, it is, right? It's looking at it, I don't know the price of these things. Of course I don't, but does it look like £20 million? No, it doesn't really to me. It looks like a couple of porta cabins and a big tent, right? That's what it does. And I know that things cost money, but that's what it is. But you mentioned about the upgrades in the stadium. That's all that people want to know is where this money's going. There still isn't run hot water in the old stand, for crying out loud. People are asking, where are these banners that were down? Well, I'll tell you where they are. See if you get around the side, the entrance to the sports bar, right? There's metal fences and there's a couple of metal storage containers. They're all wrapped up in a big ball and they're chucked in the corner against the fence line. That's where they are. Because when I was up at the stadium recently and I walk around, that's where they are. That's where they're lying. Along with all sorts of other garbage that's lying outside the stadiums. Those big metal sort of like carts for taking in food and drink and stuff. They're all scattered about. A couple of metal storage containers. There's an old ticket fan, like pop-up sort of office type thing that's rotten and all peeling away. The place is a disgrace and they're not spending any money on it whatsoever. And that's just part of the frustrations. Obviously, we want to see the money on the pitch, but there's nothing happening in and around the club, Barrafield aside, that shows that the money's getting spent on. The fact that we're well into the season and we've got European games coming up and the stadium isn't looking its best for the first home European match is quite frankly embarrassing.
Yeah, that is, mate. And do you know what? It shows that exactly what we said. The board show a lack of ambition. That Brendan Rodgers has called them out on it. And now the fans are starting to call them out on it. So, yeah, we just need to keep it going as it is at the minute and hopefully changes on the horizon. Viva la revolution.
Well, that's it. Change might be on the horizon. Hopefully it is. Listen, we take away from today's result, it is positive. It's good to see a good scoreline. It's a clean sheet. It gets us into a semi-final against Rangers. It says that's probably going to be 2nd of November. Just a quick word on that before we close off, Paddy. You said at the top of the show, better to get them a semi-final than a final.
Yeah.
How do you think that one pans out? Between now and then, there's a couple of tricky games there. I think when you look at the games that Rangers have got, nothing's a given for them. They celebrated like it was going out of fashion, but even a blind squirrel will find nuts every now and then, so something's got to come their way once and now. But you look at some of the games that they've got between now and playing us, and again, they can take nothing for granted, but it's games that they probably should win. It's like, see, your Falkirk's in there and, Genk and Livingston. There's a couple of games that they could build up a wee sort of head of steam. We've got some tricky games in there. You confident off the back of that that's going to be a sort of turning point for Celtic, or will you reserve judgment and see how we get on midweek?
4-0, mate. Easy. Going forward, there's going to be a hell of a lot of people going back into the home cup ticket scheme. There's a lot of people scrambling back in there now. You can just imagine, oh, wait a minute, I didn't mean to leave that, boys. Let me back in. We might get a chance of getting a ticket for the game. That's a good thing. Listen, going into it, we've got a kind of decent run, and it's going to be a busy schedule, and I think it's going to come down to squad depth. And when it comes to that, I think we're doing all right now. We've got players ready to come in. Obviously, we spoke about midfield and a few wee changes in there, but you've got to be confident coming up against them. We won't play as bad as what we did play against them the last time we played them, and they're in a pretty shit state. So, I mean, they've been out swimming in Loch Lomond and doing whatever they do, climbing up wee hills and all that kind of stuff. And listen, let them do what they do. See if it makes you sleep better tonight, mate. That's absolutely fine. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over getting them in a semi-final, and I'll still quite happily say that the cup will be coming home to paradise.
Well, I like that confidence there, Paddy. And if we get beyond that, then we know what's going to be waiting you. It's going to be either St Mirren or it's going to be Motherwell. And again, if we do manage to navigate our way to the final, there's worse teams that could be playing there. So we'll see how that one pans out. But we crack on, Paddy. Back in action, back to European action midweek. It's not quite where we wanted to be. Red Star. Any concerns around them, Paddy? We'll obviously do a wee preview. We'll talk about it. But, I mean, it's one of these ones, isn't it?
It's a game you should be expecting to win. But listen, we expected to beat Kairat. So let's reserve some judgment just now. Let's hold our cards close to our chest. Like you say, Steve, we'll do the breakdown. We'll have a wee look at them. We'll see what the deal is. And their general Zod there, he's obviously following them. They're scoring for fun. But mate, they're not playing against Calibre or Partick, Thistle and stuff like that. So we're scoring for fun as well. So I wouldn't worry about it. We'll do the breakdown.
No, it's scored for fun today, but I mean, come on, I wouldn't say we're scored for fun.
They've not got players like Yang, so we should be all right. We'll do the breakdown later on. Steve was your man for that.
I'm not biting to that.
Steve was your man for the breakdown. So he'll get in. He'll break down the squad. He'll tell us the danger men, all of that kind of stuff. I'll come on and basically agree with him.
Say 4-0.
And say 4-0. That's pretty much that's how it's going to go. That's that. Yeah.
Well, Paddy, thanks for joining us. Thanks to everybody there. We're up around about 150 at our top end, still about 129 a year at this moment in time. So thank you very much for joining us. Take care of yourselves. Hopefully that put a wee bit more optimism in your Celtic viewing today.
Yeah.
We march on. We'll see what midweek brings, and hopefully we'll be talking about another fine performance there. Maybe a third Sebastian Tounekti man of the match performance, Paddy. We'll see what's going to be happening. We live in hope, exactly. But until the next time, you'll take care of yourselves. And always, Paddy, tell them, send this one home, brother.
Hail, hail.
See you all later. Bye-bye.